Hi guys, my name is Danielle Rowe and I'm with DonorsChoose.org. It is so exhilarating and so exciting to be here with you all today. I'm really looking forward to talking about my organization and how it is we make it easy for anyone to give back to public schools throughout the country and including in Mississippi. But before I kick things off, a show of hands, well, I want you to take out your mental notepad. And I want you to think of 5 people who've had a significant impact on your life. And I'm going to give you time to think, so actually think. All right, so a show of hands, how many of you had a teacher on that list? Wow, okay, so that's nearly all of you guys, and myself included. The teacher who always comes to mind for me is Mr. Johnson. He is actually this tall in real life. He's actually not as pixelated. And he's a 6'5", unapologetically black man who taught me African American studies in high school. He was actually the first and only black male teacher that I had growing up. And he was the reason I entered a career in education. As a result of him, I taught for 2 years. The first time at a Catholic school through the AmeriCorps program, the second time at a well-resourced public charter school in the Bronx. And fortunately for me and my students, we always had enough time and resources to do exactly what we needed to do in the classroom. So whether that was start a French club or go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, we always had enough. But I recognize that that's a privilege that not all schools are able to afford. And oftentimes, these are challenges that come about from budgetary restrictions. And when schools are faced with budget concerns, they turn to traditional types of fundraising to fill those gaps. And while bake sales and car washes are really great options, local options for fundraising, they can be largely inefficient and they can be largely inequitable. And this is because they depend on the local community's participating power. So a school in a higher income community is gonna have a more successful fundraiser than that of one in a lower income community. And teachers, the awesome human beings that they are, they'll dip into their own pockets to the tune of $500 every year to purchase additional resources for their students. So now I want to show you a type of school fundraising that makes it easy for schools, regardless of their economic status, to get the resources they need to increase, to make learning even better for their students. And they can do that through crowdfunding. So what you see here are 2 examples of districts and a large funding opportunity that came to DonorsChoose.org, the organization that I'm here to represent today. Crowdfunding is the practice of collecting or funding a small project or venture through the acquisition of small donations from a large amount of people. And in today's social media age, crowdfunding makes it easy for teachers to get the much needed resources they need for their students. Now, DonorsChoose.org is a crowdfunding platform that takes the very best of crowdfunding with added layers of accountability and transparency to achieve or make amends to the ethical concerns that crowdfunding raises. And so what you see here is Paradise Unified School District. They're a school district out in California that fundraised over $250,000 on our site just this past year. And the interesting thing about this impact is that they were one of the districts who was impacted by the Camp Fire. So the resources that they were able to receive from DonorsChoose really impacted their recovery effort. And on the right, you'll see a New York Times coverage of a $29 million donation from a cryptocurrency company out in California. It funded every single project on DonorsChoose.org, bringing thousands of classroom dreams to life. And so at our organization, we make it easy for anyone to give back to the public schools. We believe that teachers understand what their classrooms need to succeed, and we want to make it as easy as possible for everyday people like you and me, as well as corporations and foundations, to contribute to their needs and their dreams. And so now I'm going to show you a really quick video where you'll hear from our founder, Charles Best, and a few teachers who've leveraged our site, just how we're able to do that.
When I came into this classroom, we had 30 desks, 30 chairs, a teacher's desk. That was it.
Public school teachers spent $1.6 billion of their own money on classroom supplies.
I was a history teacher at a high school in the Bronx for 5 years, and it just occurred to me that there were people out there who'd want to help teachers like us if they could see exactly where their money was going.
Donors Choose is the greatest, simplest idea. Teachers go to the website and put up materials they need for something they want to teach. You, as a donor, choose a school, choose a project.
And you can fund part of a project or the entire project. It is magic.
Well, with Donors Choose, you know exactly where it goes. Every dime goes exactly to that project, and you hear directly back from those kids and from that teacher.
I use it for a lot of English and reading. But people also do field trips or a special project that maybe they need a piece of technology for.
We're moving into the age of technology, and the only way my kids really get those experiences are really at school.
To have someone out there give them books, the feeling that they get, they feel like somebody in the city cares, somebody in this country cares about me and my future and my potential, and that's a powerful thing.
Support our classroom, build a future.
Perfect.
All right, so now that you know a little bit about our origin story and the things that we do in classrooms, I want to talk to you about how exactly our site works. So any guidance counselor, teacher, coach at a verified public school in the US is able to post a project on our site where they request the exact material that they need to bring learning to new heights for their students. They post that project and it goes to our team of screeners who vets the project to make sure that it's abiding by our standards for integrity and transparency. And once that project is vetted, it goes live, where it's then up to our community of donors and our friends at various corporations and foundations across the country to fund that project. Once it's funded, we purchase those materials and ship them out to the school site, at which point they become the property of the school system. And then from there, we ask that the teachers submit a thank you letter so that we can understand the impact that the materials were able to have in their classroom. It's that easy, and it takes about 20 minutes for a teacher to set up a project and about 27 days for them to receive those materials. And so the best way to understand our site is to take a look at a project example. So here we have a project that's from Mrs. McDevitt. She's a public school teacher in Boise Public Schools right here. So Boise Public Schools has a population of refugee students and students who are suffering from PTSD. So the district has a focus on social emotional learning. And so Mrs. McDevitt posted this project to request materials to cultivate a safe and quiet space for her students that's non-punitive and will allow them to calm without missing key instructional time. So this was a project that requested items like sensory toys and stress balls, and it was $600 in total, funded by 12 donors in 4 states: Oregon, Utah, New Jersey, and Idaho. All right, so here's our impact to date. We've fundraised over $875 million for 4 out of 5 public schools throughout the country. 75% of the funding that we've received has come from folks, or goes to folks, to teachers who the folks who are donating don't know that teacher who they're supporting. And because we've collected so much data, we've been able to key into really interesting insights and trends in learning and in the education space. One of the insights that we were able to key in on is the importance of representation in the classroom. So it's the reason why my love of learning really skyrocketed once I had Mr. Johnson in high school. So we actually saw a 117% increase in teachers requesting inclusive materials for their classrooms. So this trend, of course, is reinforced by research and studies, and it's actually one of the reasons why we partnered with Google.org for a new campaign called I See Me. It's an initiative where Google has pledged $4 million to support project requests on Donors Choose that are allowing teachers to, or allowing students to see themselves reflected back in the materials that they're using in the classroom. We've noticed other trends, like a growth in the importance of social-emotional learning, and we've also been able to see how teachers in different communities are using our site or aren't using our site. So that 53% increase in rural teachers creating their very first project in our site is really exciting, since for the most part, it's urban school districts and teachers who are leveraging us at a greater pace. But my favorite stat to share with folks is not the amount of dollars that we've raised. It's not even how many schools we're in, but it's actually the fact that 76% of all of our funding goes to support students in high-need communities. So this means that we're making a much larger impact in being the support system that some students and teachers need, but don't necessarily have access to. So whether it's a request for really innovative materials like a robotics kit or an aquarium for science class, or it's something that goes back to the basics like extra pink construction paper for Valentine's Day cards, we believe that teachers know what they need to take learning to new heights for their students, and we want to make it as easy as possible for everyday people like you and me to support them in that endeavor. And so, I have a surprise for you all. Each of you should have a $50 DonorsChoose.org gift card right in front of you. I really hope that you'll go on our site and contribute to a project that really inspires you. Maybe it's for a book that you just couldn't put down as a kid and it really increased your love of learning, or maybe it's a project at your kid's school. There's no shame in that either. Regardless of how you use our site, I really hope you'll use this gift card to help bring a classroom dream to life. Thank you so much.